Syrian state media says air defences are engaging in what it calls hostile targets over the Masyaf region in central Syria. The state-run Sana broadcaster is not elaborating, but other reports in the country suggest air defences are engaging an Israeli airstrike. There are no immediate reports of injuries or damage in the alleged attack. For more, our Middle East correspondent Alec Pollard is here in studio. And Alec, it's difficult to confirm details of strikes in Syria for a range of very obvious reasons. But what is known about the actual location? What is being targeted right now? What can you tell us?
Well, Masyaf has been targeted in the past, allegedly by Israel. It's an area where some of the Iranian-backed militias or Iranian personnel are active. Reportedly, what was struck there were several targets, including possibly a research center and a weapons cache. And also, Al Arabiya reporting that a weapons depot of Hezbollah was targeted in Tartus. And Tartus is the port city also where the Russian forces are located. So if we're looking at all of this sort of in conjunction of some interesting recent events, 2 days ago, the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, came out and condemned the Israeli strikes in Syria, saying that they were dangerous. When we look at potential strike in Tartus that is near the Russian forces. And we have heard the Russians also previously, Maria Zakharova, a spokeswoman, saying also condemning the Israeli attacks in Syria, something that we didn't see much of in the past. So Russia becoming more vocal. And also another interesting event is the U.S. getting active after some rockets were fired on bases in eastern Syria in the Deir ez-Zor region. Twice the U.S. striking targets that they called Iranian-backed targets, according to one spokesperson of the defense secretary, or a U.S. official. So that's something that also we haven't seen that much of the past from the U.S. The U.S. usually targeting ISIS targets, Al-Qaeda targets, but not Iranian-backed targets. So all of this happening also within the background, the nuclear negotiations with Iran. So is the U.S. trying to sort of maybe compensate that with being more active in Syria? Is the U.S. maybe in contact with Israel and they're coordinating those strikes? That's something that we don't know, but the fact that the U.S. is getting more involved and the Russians are also getting more vocal while Israel is continuing its strikes shows that the Syrian theater is heating up, and the big players, the U.S. and Russia, are making their presence more known and more present in that area.
And just very briefly, we're going to a break very shortly, but the understanding up until recently, when Sergei Lavrov and others were speaking out and condemning these alleged strikes by Israel, was that behind the scenes they were turning a blind eye to what was going on. That's likely not the case this time round.
Well, again, it is possible with the deteriorating ties that we're seeing between Israel and Russia over specifically Prime Minister Lapid's more vocal condemnation of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, specifically when he was the foreign minister, and now the closing down of the Jewish agency in Russia, that yes, maybe Russia is sort of enacting some form of revenge, let's call it, on Israel, or showing that it can harm Israel if Israel doesn't do its bidding. And we're seeing that here with those comments made by Sergei Lavrov. But despite all this, Israel is very active in Syria in the last few weeks. So we'll see if that will continue, considering the risks that are present there.